Your movie, my movie, their movie, our movie. Your movie, my movie, their movie, our movie. Your movie, my movie, their movie, our movie. Yeah!
Content warning. This episode includes discussion of sensitive topics, including rape, pedophilia, violence against women, and school shootings. If you are sensitive to such topics, discretion is advised. Hello. Welcome to Your Movie, My Movie with Dan and Steve.
I'm Dan.
I'm Steve. Also with us today are a whole host of co-hosts. We have writer and not-so-silent partner of the podcast, Ciara.
I'm Ciara.
Cinematographer and filmmaker, Alice.
I'm Alice.
And actor, filmmaker, and overworked kitchen staff, Christian.
I'm Christian.
This is a podcast where one of us picks a movie to watch and we discuss it together. In this episode, we're talking about one of Alice's picks, the 2009 movie Jennifer's Body, starring Megan Fox, Amanda Seyfried, Johnny Simmons, and Adam Brody. Was written by Diablo Cody and was directed by Karen Kusama. We will be talking about spoilers, so if you want to watch the movie first, now's the time to do so. But before we talk about the movie, Dan, who would you recommend this movie for?
Lesbo gays who are finding themselves and, also have a hankering for human flesh.
Okay, well, that's a very specific demographic, Dan.
It's bigger than you'd think.
Oh, really? Apparently so. Okay, fair enough. Let's go around the room. Alice, who would you recommend this movie for?
Gen Z horror fans.
Okay. Why Gen Z horror fans?
So I'm commenting on the fact that this film has become an enormous cult classic among a demographic that was too young to see the movie, but has kind of found a home for it at the home box office.
Okay. Ciara, who would you recommend this movie for?
For those who love like good for her movies, this is my first good for her movie. I never once, when I was watching the movie, was like, Jennifer Check is such a bad person. Like, that never was a thought that came to my mind, like the many times I watched it. So those who love like a Gone Girl, like those movies where like women are terrible human beings, but like it seems justified for some reason. Yeah, you'd love this movie for sure.
Well, if that's how you feel, I feel very differently about those movies. Like they're targeting me. Okay, then. Okay.
I never said it was a safe space.
That's true. That's true. Okay, Christian, who would you recommend this movie for?
People who want to see Megan Fox in a movie other than Transformers.
Okay, that's fair. That's very fair.
Stephen, who would you recommend this movie for?
I'm glad you asked, Dan. I would recommend this movie for people who want, who enjoy the intersection of high school and horror and would want to watch more than just Carrie. Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good high school horror movie. Carrie and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Those are the other two I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah.
This one was actually not written by a man.
That's
which
right.
is interesting.
God bless.
Yeah, it was written by Diablo Cody, who has done things.
Like has a fitting
Juno.
name for the themes of the film.
Exactly.
Okay, she's on Juno.
Yeah, she wrote Juno.
Let's see.
If you can't tell by the Midwest dialogue.
It's so layered on thick in this movie. It's so great.
This movie does have a particular dialogue to it, for sure.
Nice hardware there, Ace.
Yeah.
It's so like the one-liners in this film are just so. God, this movie fucks, dude. Like, I love it so much.
This movie is very varsity.
Yeah.
Varsity moves.
It's definitely not JV. So, yeah.
Varsity script they're working with.
Yeah. Mhm. It's a salty movie.
Salty.
it's so salty.
It's a salty movie for sure.
Like the quotes in this film are just so insane. Like majority of the notes I took writing or watching the movie are literally just quotes from the movie because it's just so damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
But it's not just quotes. There's also, I think, what makes this interesting is the basic themes are what makes it rewatchable, other than the quotes.
Yeah, the quotes definitely push the movie on, but it's more than just quotes.
Yes.
You know, this is not Ron Burgundy. Yeah, this is not that movie for sure. There's a lot more to this movie. This movie actually has something to say. Mhm. Okay, so how do we want to get started with this? Let's talk about the opening image. Because the opening image of a movie usually tells you what you can expect.
Mm-hmm.
So I have it written down that the opening image is a house, and then we see a close up of a girl's mouth.
Wait.
Okay.
It's like a low angle zoom in of the house, like an Evil Dead, like it's on like a 4-wheeler going towards the house, like really fast.
Oh, okay. So it's that Evil Dead cam.
That's how I interpreted it.
Okay.
But not quite as exaggerated, but it felt very much like that.
Well, there are definitely themes of Evil Dead. The movie even gets name dropped. Evil Dead even gets name dropped.
There's a
in this
poster and
Wearing the shirt.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I saw that as. But also, it is a very suburban house or something like that. Midwest suburban.
Mm-hmm. And then we see the close up of a girl's mouth, and then we see that it's Megan Fox.
Wait. Sorry. Wait.
Okay.
We cut to the zoom in, and then we see a person picking at a scab.
Aha. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we cut back to the zoom in, and then we cut back to girl's mouth chewing her own hair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I should point out this is my first time watching it.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I didn't see. I didn't know what to pick up on. Because once you see the movie to the end, then you know what all the stuff at the beginning
means
is referring to. Yes.
It does cut back to that scene of her laying on her bed in the shorts, with the Fall Out Boy poster behind her and those like leg warmers.
Yeah.
She uses that same scene
Yeah.
at the end of the film, and that's the part where she's pulling out her hair.
Right.
Yeah, she's chewing on her hair, but her teeth are also, they have like remnants of like blood.
Oh.
Yeah, like the ridges of her teeth, there's like remnants of blood as well. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that, no.
Oh, I love that shot. I think it's so great.
Okay. And then we see Amanda Seyfried in a hoodie, looking intensely from outside.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we cut to Amanda Seyfried in a
Mental institution,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
I'm a kicker.
Yes.
Yeah, she's in a mental institution, and she's like looking out the window, and the window is obviously barred, and it's unbreakable. So she's obviously in an institution.
Can I bring something up I saw with the way that she was sitting in that cell?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You notice how she goes through all that and she picks the nurse, and then they lock her in solitary, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole cell is dark, but she's backlit. She's sitting in front of the light. So even in the darkest moment, that's her light. It doesn't matter what happened, and it's sort of foreshadowing that, like, hey, things are going to get real bad, but it's what she needs to do to achieve that light.
Oh,
There's
And just
also
the introspection immediately.
there's also we get this straight down view of the cell, and the cell is shaped so that there's a drain in the center, and that all the four corners of the cell lead to the drain for, like, if they poop or pee or whatever. However, it is an X, which is super significant throughout the movie.
Yes,
Oh.
I noted
Throughout the whole
that.
movie.
Jessica?
Yeah, I noted that.
Because we'll see later, Jennifer is always saying if Needy does anything slightly annoying, Jennifer will say, "I'm crossing you out," and draw an X in the air. And then in the end, spoilers. Can I say it?
Yeah.
In the end, Needy cuts an X into Jennifer's stomach. And there's also an X on their hand
when they go to the Melody Lane.
because they're minors.
Yeah.
Was it? Because maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but this could have something to do with the thoughts of femininity and the impure sacrifice, right? But did she cut it into her stomach, or was it more on her, like, womb area?
It was more uterus.
It was,
location,
yeah. So that's
That's great point.
That's a very great point.
Great
Well,
observation.
they mentioned that earlier in the movie. When she is so before they go to the bar, Melody Lane, Jennifer asks Needy to dress cute, and there's a little bit of like coded meaning that with Jennifer because quote unquote tits are her trademark. And so when Needy can kind of show her midriff, and her boyfriend Chip comments, "I can see your womb.
I can see your front bottom."
But after that,
And then he said, I can see your womb.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
See, this is what happens when a whole group of people watch the same movie and catch up on all these different things, which is great.
I have something when we get to it that I want to see if any of you noticed.
Okay.
Okay. We should not go through this movie chronologically.
No, we don't have time.
What do you want to talk about first, Dan?
Well, I think the thing I'm most interested in is the way this movie talks about abusive friendships and abusive friendship relationships. And that's, I think, to me, what this movie is really about. How to leave someone who is not good for you, how to stand up for yourself, and to realize that you're kind of being taken advantage of. I don't know. What do you guys think of that part?
Well, I think, it also bears mentioning, we kind of alluded to it before, but this is a very, very female-centric movie.
Very much. One of the first lines is, hell is a teenage girl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Such a kick-ass line.
So it, so I think this movie, it's also, it also talks about, basically toxic femininity. Because one of the things that I heard about is how, women, a lot of women feel that they can't have women friends for whatever reason. And one of the issues with that is, women are very passive aggressive, and especially towards other women. And the reason why is because they feel like they have to compete with women, even if they're friends with them. So it can create a lot of toxic friendships in that way. And Jennifer in this movie, she's the perfect example of that. She's always, like you said, tits are Jennifer's trademark. So only Jennifer can, show off her tits. Needy needs to hide who she is so Jennifer can feel better about herself. And they were friends since, they were little girls, and they continue to be so. And at first you think that Needy is like, she has a crush on Jennifer.
That moment where they held hands.
Yeah.
It was very like, that knowing glance, and then that release, and the way she looked a little disappointed.
Because we start out very early on. She's watching Needy is watching Jennifer perform as a cheerleader. And her friend is like, "You're such a lesbo gay." Lesby gay, sorry. And so, right off the bat, we have that idea introduced.
I feel like you can't talk about that toxic element of the friendship without talking about something that is central to the film, both within it and in a meta context, which is, because I think a central core part of the movie is how people look at teenage girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that was a defining aspect of the reception of the movie. And that because it was quite critically panned when it first came out. And it didn't get its cult following until a little bit later. But even central to all of the dialogue throughout the movie, and every aspect of their friendship, that competitiveness in their friendship is really built on how they are looked at.
Well, that was one of the things that I noticed about this movie, is because the dialogue, it seems terribly written. It seems like very terribly written dialogue. But the thing is that it's not so much that the dialogue, and that might have been why it was panned, because it seemed to have terrible dialogue. But the thing that you have to keep in mind is that the people saying this dialogue are teenagers who are stupid.
I don't see it as terrible at all, though.
Yeah, I love the dialogue.
It's stylish. It's over stylized. It's extra stylized dialogue.
But it's also simplistic. It's like super simplistic.
And that's fine.
Who's that director that you really like? Zombieland.
Zombieland? That's not it.
We went to see it.
Jim Jarmusch.
Jim Jarmusch. You know how the dialogue in
Die.
Jim Jarmusch movies, it sometimes seems a little forced to me, but it's very focused on a message, right?
Yeah.
There was one thing, going back to how we were talking about in the beginning of the film, Hell is a teenage girl, right? She was in that solitary confinement part, and I'm talking about Needy. And she said, nobody gets off the cross, right? And then later in the film, her mother, like the only time we see her mother, says, I had those night terrors. It was about you getting nailed to a cross, and we're talking about femininity and these issues that women have with, in your perception, having relationships with other women and this inherent competitiveness, right? And Needy sacrificed, not really, but kind of had to sacrifice. I keep wanting to call him Young Neil. I know that that's
literally
not him.
in my notes I have him as Young Neil.
But Chip. Sacrificed Chip. She was on the cross and she had to die. I don't know. I don't want to live up to my name with too much Christian imagery here.
Well, I mean, what you said before, this movie seems that it knows it's a movie because of the dialogue. Everything is on the nose, and it's also very stylized. Like you said, this is a very hyper-real movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's because of the dialogue. It's straight up because of the dialogue.
It reminds me, more than a few reasons, of like Scott Pilgrim or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's meta. It's very self-aware. It also has Chip in it.
I think that kind of awareness is inescapable when the central part of your plot is that, part of this is post-Transformers Megan Fox. This is 2009.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
And this is post-Transformers Megan Fox. This is 2009, or at least released in 2009. And it is ultimately the film follows her transformation into a flesh-eating succubus. And a core part of the movie, spoilers for the whole thing, is revenge against men, whether they're
low shoulder,
whether they're low shoulder or just
well, they're men who think they can get with her,
right,
or who want her for her body.
Exactly.
I haven't seen this movie till now, but I knew of the movie, and I knew right when it came out, that movie is a message about Megan Fox being sexualized. That's what the movie is. It's very apparent just by the production of it. It's no mistake that they got Megan Fox when they got her. That's what the movie's about.
It's apparent from the title.
Well, yeah, that too.
Oh, true. Yeah.
But going back, you said this was meta commentary. That's what I put down in my own notes too. This is a movie that knows it's a movie, and it's a lot like meta horrors like Scream, Jason X. But I also see a whole bunch of other movies in this one. Near Dark, Fright Night, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Carrie, Evil Dead. I even see a little bit of Twilight in it. And this movie might have also been an influence, or I can see a thematic parallel with a movie that came after it, Neon Demon.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned Twilight.
I haven't seen Neon Demon.
It's interesting that you mentioned Twilight. Because these two movies, the first...
They're a year apart.
They came out at a very similar time.
Yeah.
And this film was often described as shitty Twilight for boys.
It's not for boys at all.
No. What the hell?
No. Twilight is like a movie for girls that boys would think, that boys would make. Even though I know that one was written by a woman, but boys would men would produce that movie. Men would not make this movie.
But I think that comment comes from an inability to see past the surface level of this is a Megan Fox movie and tits are her trademark.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Going on the subject of... Hey, you know what? I'm not in the right place. Go on.
I will say though, it's because I remember when this movie came out, I was like 8 or 9 or whatever. And I remember I really wanted to see it, not just because Megan Fox was like super hot, but because like it looked absolutely insane. It looked like a movie I would absolutely love. But the way people shit on it so bad and gave poor description of what it was, like a shitty Twilight for boys or whatever, it's just like, of course this phrase wasn't around then, but it's pretty much like the movie is basically like the girls that get it, the girls that don't. But the movie really hits on, sort of going back to what we were talking about before, like the very like intricate relationship that women have with each other, because she in the beginning it's like sandbox love never dies when she's talking, when Needy is talking about her relationship with Jennifer, because Chip is like, she's a bitch, and she's like, well, she's my bitch, pretty much.
Did you think about how the blood on her teeth in that opening scene is also relevant to the fact that Needy kissed that blood off her hand in the playground?
100%.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I moved around a lot when I was a child, so I didn't have really like concrete friendships at all, let alone friendships with girls. But the ones, if I stayed in a place long enough, like the friendships that I did have, like I still have secrets from girls whose names I don't even remember anymore. Like I remember their faces and I remember their secrets. That's it. And I've never told anybody them. Like there's like such like a intricate ritual that like sandbox love has, where it's just like there's this linkage, you know, and it's everlasting, which makes relationships when you're growing older a lot more difficult, because there's that growing competitiveness that girls learn through society. And where was I going? And so that's why with Needy and Jennifer's friendship, it doesn't seem like it should work because of that, but because of their history, like to them, it's still supernatural, as if it was when they were little children. You know what I mean?
Natural.
Extremely natural, yeah.
I think it's interesting that this is a movie.
Alice, interesting is a non-word. It doesn't mean anything. So when you say that it's interesting, how do you mean it?
Well, I'm about to start my fucking sentence, everybody. I think it's interesting that you say that, because a central part of the ritual sacrifice that turns her into the flesh-eating succubus is her supposed purity as a virgin, but they have this corrupted friendship throughout the entire story, but the only pure version of that friendship was when they were still in the sandbox.
Well, you know, you bring up, let's just freestyle here. Okay, well,
sorry, we're bouncing all over the
I know we are.
Can I ask a question of them too?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
This was something in the opening bit that got me. Needy mentions that we have stuff in common, asked why like they hang out. And when we're watching the film, I couldn't figure out what they had in common until Needy loses it to Chip. And now they finally, in my eyes in that film, now they have something in common. What did those two share in terms of personality, in terms of things that they do? It seemed like there was that big controlling aspect of the relationship where Needy is sort of led on and made to acquiesce to the whims of Jennifer. And you can't really see anything they have in common. So like we're talking about how the dialogue was very deliberate. That part left me wondering until there was only one answer, which to me was, well, now they're both impure. But that's a weird take. I don't know how that meshes in with the
well, no, I mean, that kind of goes with a lot of the symbolism. You know, because that goes with that whole symbolism of women and, you know, finding their sexual empowerment. But by finding their sexual empowerment, they become monsters. That's what that's about. The reason, you know, they're impure, but because they are impure and they are sacrificed, because they are impure, they become demons. Both of them.
Powerful demons.
Yeah, powerful demons. Yeah, and Jennifer first. But then even Needy does by the end, you know, and it's because, you know, she lost her virginity to Chip.
I want to know what you all thought about the inversion of roles as recipients of violence and how it has to deal with women. How she starts off, Jennifer, as the recipient of this terrible violent act, right? And then, I think, what was the guy's name? The emo boy with the lip ring.
Colin
Gray.
When she is about to eviscerate and disembowel that man, she says, I need you frightened, hopeless, right? So in a sense, I don't want to say that it's empowerment, but Jennifer is now able to exercise the sort of control over her surroundings that these men took from her, and she's paying him back.
Well, I think that is a key element of how you called it simple, but I think deliberate is a great word for all of the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
It can be simple, but also deliberate.
It's like a laser.
Yeah, absolutely.
It hits exactly where it needs to.
At the very end, there was that graffiti, hopeless.
I was about to say.
Very prominent in the frame.
Yeah.
I also think that a part of that is, well, now we're getting into real talk because it feels like sexual assault. And sexual assault isn't about sex, it's about the power.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that might have been what that, making the guys hopeless and powerless, that might have been an allusion to that. She's using her sex, but she's using it to lure them in and to feed on them. Mm-hmm. But it's not about that. It's about, making them feel powerless.
And she couldn't exercise her power over Chip because he was unwilling to, make the advances.
Exactly.
So she wasn't even that interested, It came to it where it was almost obligatory, where she throws him under the water. Not like, time to rip this guy apart. It's just like, oh, shit, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
I think it's interesting. How do I put this? I have been thinking about how she eventually brings each of the victims to a point where she becomes this, flesh-eating monster. But every step of the way there is a very human level of manipulation that she is capable of, whether or not she has been transformed into the devouring succubus monster.
Right.
Well, that brings me to something else I was thinking about, which is that, these are all teenagers. And teenagers don't always understand when they're going into a dangerous situation. Mm-hmm. I once saw a news report, and this was college age people. These were college students, and they did an experiment the reporter did a kind of experiment where they're just like, "Hey, could you come into this van?" And they would, and then he'd be like, "Hey, could you hand me your phone?" And they would. So they're just because they are young, they're so used to being told what to do by their parents, by their teachers, by other authorities.
By their friends.
Yeah, even by their friends, that they just do it and they don't understand that they're getting themselves into a dangerous situation yet. So that's what that reminded me of. Less so with Jonas going into the woods, but more so Colin, because, you see him drive down the street and all the houses are lit. Mm-hmm. Then he goes to a neighborhood where there are no lights in any houses. And then he stops at the house that Jennifer tells him to meet her at. And he goes in, and it's one that's under construction. And, he sees all these dangerous tools laying around and the rats and everything. And he doesn't leave.
Going back to that scene with Jonas in the woods, this is what I said to you all, where I wanted to see if any of you caught this. Before it was revealed, before there was any on-screen image of Jennifer, I keep wanting to say Jessica's body, of Jennifer, like ripping people apart, being a vampire, a demon. In that last moment where it's the over-the-shoulder shot of Jonas, did you all notice the mosquito?
Giant mosquito.
Prominent on his neck? Yeah. And then with Chip, the bugs, as soon as he walks in, swatting around, Bloodsucker.
I was wondering if that mosquito, though, was
real.
I was because it's not in any of the other shots.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not. It breaks the continuity of the shot because it's, again, once we cut back, that mosquito's not there.
Yeah, and it's like a half second. It goes over back to her, and then it's gone.
And it's a big bitch. It's noticeable. So that's why I assume that even if they didn't intend for a mosquito to be there and take a good sip out of that man, they kept it in because they were like, yeah, that works.
It's cold. It's cold.
They're like, fucking right. Really quick, because I have so many quotes written down. I kind of want to, because we already talked about the dialogue and stuff. Let me flip my page. Sorry. There were such amazing moments, like very high intensity scenes where the dialogue is just absolutely fucking fantastic. And it seems it's almost inappropriate for the scene, but it almost makes it at the same time. So, with not to fast forward too much to basically the end of the movie, but when Needy and Jennifer are fighting in the pool house, and Needy's telling her she's insecure, and Jennifer is like 10 feet up in the air, and she's like, I'm not insecure, and Needy, God, that's a joke. Why would I be insecure? I was a snowflake queen. And she was like, yeah, 2 years ago when you were socially relevant. And she's like, I'm still socially relevant. And she's like, and we didn't need laxatives to stay skinny. Dude, like Chip is fucking like half dead in the background, and they're just having this catty ass fight. And it was just so perfect for the scene, because I feel like the way, like tonally, the way the movie already was, if they had made it any like more controlled or more like really serious dialogue, it would have completely taken everybody out of the film. And then after Chip impales her with the pool scooper thing or whatever, and she was like, you got a tampon? And she's like, no. She was like, thought I'd ask. Seemed like you were plugging. Like, yeah. And then she jumps out the fucking window. Like, I think it's just so great.
I think it like reminds me of just like the absurdity of being a teenager.
Yeah.
Because you have to deal with all these fucking serious things that are happening all around you to all your friends, but also everything is a joke to you, to everyone. And all the, like all this like toxic humor, or like, oh, I love dark humor. But it's all like coping, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Well, that's, like I before, they're teenagers are used to, just being told what to do. So there's that. And so this movie, it very much feels like the paradox of being a teenager, where you're told what to do, but you're also trying to, become an adult. So you're given more responsibilities, and that's very difficult to manage. And like you said, the absurdity of being a teenager. There's one line that in this movie that just points it out. And it's, them sharing the class of creative fiction.
Creative nonfiction.
Creative nonfiction. Yeah, creative nonfiction. It's very much that part.
I think that got the biggest laugh.
Yeah.
So out of nowhere, too.
So, I mean, that's just the paradoxes that teenagers go through. But, it also goes to the paradox of Needy's and Jennifer's relationship, where they act like friends, but they really aren't.
Right. Because going back to like, we have a lot in common. Of course, we don't see what they have in common, because they've been friends since the sandbox. Like, they've been friends since they were like single digit.
They have.
So whatever they had in common then, that's the glue that's holding their friendship together. Whether it was Polly Pocket then and probably nothing now, they're still going to have that tether pretty much. Well,
there's another glue that holds them together. And it's when it's in that flashback, and Jennifer asks Needy, not to say something, not to talk about the prick, because her mom will make her get a shot. And then Needy says, I will never tell on you. So, that's kind of the basis of their relationship, where Jennifer does all these things and Needy doesn't, warn anybody.
Right.
Well, it's also that they, as little as they have in common, they know each other's true selves.
Yeah, exactly.
They see each other completely clearly, and they know all each other's secrets. They can deal with them. So I think that's also part of their like sexual tension, is because they are repressed basically, but around each other they are able to open up in a certain way, more than just sexually, but you know what I'm saying, like as humans, on a human level, they know each other well.
Yeah, but that also means that they're each other's biggest threats.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Needy's continuous yielding to Jennifer throughout their relationship leads to this horrific, violent act happening to her, because as she yields, she continuously enables her over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not getting, and it's only when Jennifer kind of leaves the situation that she's willing to go up to the band and say, hey, that's my friend you're talking about. But whenever Jennifer is present, she will continuously enable. She lets her get in the van. She goes to the club with her in the first place. And there's a comment that Jennifer makes where, and I think this kind of plays into that, the paradox of being a teenager, where she has the X on her wrist that she can't drink, but she's willing to go and play Hello Titty with the bartender because, in her own words, she can't wait till she's old enough to get wasted.
While at the same time, in that same scene, she's talking about sitting on a bag of peas because
she's no longer a backdoor virgin.
Yeah. There's a lot of dichotomy in this film.
Yeah, because she's gonna go to Six Flags the next day.
Yeah.
Because she had to sit on a bag of peas.
What do you think about the notion that the fire in that nightclub, we know it's not a nightclub, in the Melody Lane, the intensity of her gaze, and, we're talking about there was that tension, like, sexually being closest to each other. When Needy grabs her hand, it's almost like she's trying to prevent this outburst of flames.
Well, with a hand holding, first it was Jennifer grabbing Needy's hand. Yeah, and then Jennifer let go because Jennifer was looking at the front man for low shoulder, and then the fire happened, and that's when Needy grabbed Jennifer's hand, and she was like, "Yeah, I know what to do," and then takes her out the bathroom window. Yeah,
because Needy is freaking out about the fire and about the band, and then Jennifer grabs her hand, and you can see in Needy's eyes, like, she forgets about everything because Jennifer's holding her hand.
Yeah. Like, your main priority is to help out your friend at that point.
Well, that it's also like something different about Jennifer needs me. Jennifer is holding my hand.
What you just said makes me question the name Needy and why it wasn't Jennifer's nickname. Because it seemed like Jennifer needed everything from Needy.
Well,
and her last name's Lasicki, right? So why the nickname Needy?
Her first name's Anita.
Yeah, her first name's Anita,
Yeah.
and then they put Needy. Yeah.
Anita. Okay.
Needy only really has power in situations where Jennifer is like losing or on the verge of losing her agency.
Pretty much, yeah.
We
But
don't know
Jennifer
about
still
that?
does need her.
Because I think that talk about loss of agency is important.
I don't have words. I was
Okay.
hoping you guys would take that.
So, against her friend's sort of wishes and maybe in a state of shock, Jennifer gets in the van with low shoulder, right? She exercises her agency in a juvenile, hey, give me your phone, hey, get in the van kind of way. And it leads to her apparently permanent loss of agency through death. But, they toss that knife into the devil's kettle.
Yeah, Devil's Kettle, yeah.
Devil's kettle. Yeah. And she's reincarnated, possessed by a demon, whatever you want to put it. And then she goes on to ensure that, these men lose their agency at her hand.
Well, that
brings me to another question. Oh, sorry. How much agency does she have while she's possessed and eating people?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Because go on.
Oh, sorry. There's a specific shot that I was like that made me think about this question, which was she's sitting in front of the mirror before the spring formal or whatever, and she's putting the makeup on her face, but she's like crying. It looks like.
Yeah, because she's empty, and when she's full, that's when she looks like beautiful, and she has glowy, and she has great hair. But when she's empty, she looks like an ordinary girl, according to her. So the reason why she's crying is because she has to use she takes it looks like a handful of foundation and just smacks it all over her face and rubs it all in because that's how much makeup it takes for her to look normal.
But she was also
and that's why she's crying,
putting it on her lips and things, which I think might be sort of thing.
But
like lost control.
So the thing with her crying, because I've seen this movie, this is my 6th time seeing this movie.
Right.
And I always wondered, because this is the first time we really see her, other than when she's telling the story of how the dudes of low shoulder were about to kill her or whatever. This is the first time we really see her emotional, right? And as she is the succubus or whatever, we don't see that kind of emotion from her. So I always thought that when she isn't feeding and she's getting weaker, Jennifer is coming forward.
Yes.
And that's why she's crying. Because even in the end, when Needy kills her, because when we how she looks when Needy kills her, she's only feasted a little bit off of Chip. That's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
But she's still sort of gaunt. You know, she still has kind of veiny around the eyes and stuff. But once Needy kills her, she then becomes plump and her skin has color and all this stuff. So she's right back to Jennifer.
So the true
Right.
Jennifer, not the demon Jennifer.
The true Jennifer,
And her
exactly.
last words were her trademark.
My tit.
My tit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and so that's what I always thought. That part where she's getting ready for the spring formal and she's just like lacquering that shit on. The tears are from Jennifer, from deep down in.
That's what I was
that
thinking.
the
Yeah.
succubus is taking over. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Was this whole time, how much agency has she had? Was it the demon that is driving her to eat all these people, or is it Jennifer? And,
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying is, I think during that scene, she's crying about what she's about to do
Mm-hmm.
to feed the demon, what the demon is driving her to do in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Because she really is stuck. Like Jennifer,
Mm-hmm.
literally and figuratively stuck because she's trapped in her own body that another being has taken over. And that body or that being is then incriminating her pretty much. She's making her kill all these people so the demon can be fed, all this stuff. It's Jennifer's space, but Jennifer has no control over that whatsoever. And even when she's like connecting with Needy and telling her how Low Shoulder took her to the place and yada yada yada, it's as if like she's almost being stunted from being emotional, telling the story of her, like what her presumed rape, but her ultimate murder, pretty much. And so I think that's why whenever I watch this movie, when it comes to Jennifer, I don't feel bad that she's killing a bunch of people because it's not Jennifer. It's not her. She just happens to have the face for this demon to go and do all these things, pretty much. I think that's it.
Well, with that theme, I mean, you know, women not in control of their bodies.
Right,
I mean,
exactly. And I think that's why I love that this movie is written by a woman because, of course, men try. Yet they rarely succeed.
And I'm assuming directed by a woman as well.
Yeah.
Karen Kusama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when it's a women-led anything, a lot of times men are writing it because they dominate the writer's room. And it's usually pandered towards men and women, but like women in like small letters, men in big letters. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it doesn't really hit well within the women demographic at all. But this movie does. This movie does, and it's amazing how it does. And men really shit on it almost because of that.
I don't see how a guy can shit on a movie that shows those two lead actresses kissing.
Well,
I know plenty of jocks who watched Black Swan and told me it was the best thing they ever saw because Mila Kunis and whoever else, I don't remember, Natalie Portman. There we go.
well, I mean, hold on. Let's get real here. That was an incredible shot of the. I mean, just to talk about the cinematography of it.
Yeah.
The close-up
The
of their
macro,
lips
yeah.
kissing. That was greatly lit.
It absolutely was, for sure. I thought it's one of my favorite shots of the film, honestly.
Yeah.
The bokeh. Sorry.
But I think the fact that we're even able to really like intensely analyze just the relationship between Needy and Jennifer's relationship within herself, and then with the succubus and the succubus with Jennifer's body, like it. I feel like we wouldn't be able to do this if a woman hadn't written it. I feel like that's not a hot take. You know what I mean? Because there's something so much deeper that women will understand, and of course men will probably question. Some men will understand, but men will often question, and we would have to explain it to them. But like, there's a lot of thought that goes into a movie like this because it's written by women, and they want to make sure that like all like I's are dotted, T's are crossed, pretty much when it comes to the idea and the concept of a woman and her body and her relationship with it, and then society's relationship with it.
Well, that gets to one of the things about this movie is how it treats blood. Because when you see a man who has blood on him, it's obviously because of violence. But you know, blood and women have a wholly different
recipient,
symbolism to it. You know, because you know that's when we get into menstruation. And you know, and then you know, life cycle and all of that. And teenagers, that's when they get their first period. So it's also a
coming of age.
Yeah, exactly. For women, that boys don't have.
It is. It's like a stepping into yourself, your full self.
It's a physical manifestation of women going from girlhood to womanhood. And that's something that men don't have. And the thing that got me thinking about that was that tampon quote.
For sure.
Yeah.
And even sort of on that, I might be reaching for this.
And also, that's not something a man would ever write.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
I might be reaching with this, but even when Jennifer comes into Needy's house after Jennifer had gone with Low Shoulder and the fire and everything, gone to the house and she's covered in blood, and Needy's like, "What happened to you?" Whereas if it were like a dude,
what did you do?
What did you do?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like there's automatic. I don't want to say victimhood. That almost sounds mean. But like victimhood.
Judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to women and blood, pretty much. Yeah.
This is just eating at me. I don't know when to say it, but the song at the end by Hole. Violet, thank you.
That's the name of it.
Wait, are we talking about like the outro song?
Go on, take everything, take everything. I want you to. Go on, take everything, take everything. I want you to.
Because Skies was amethyst, is how the song starts. It's called Violet.
Okay. It's a great song. I want to say one other thing about it, but that freaking phrase, I mean, the chorus is like, it's about that they don't. It's almost like I want, you can't fire me, I quit. Go on, take everything, I want you to. It's like
still trying to maintain that control, even though you're losing everything.
Yes, yeah. And they don't have control, but they it's a fight for control somehow. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the good words to talk about it, but it is totally related to the self actualization or whatever, like being able to control what you do.
Well, that song wasn't chosen at random, because
also Hole has another song called Jennifer's Body.
Oh, okay, but also Hole, the front woman for Hole was Courtney Love, who is Kurt Cobain's widow, and
murderer. I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
Oh boy, you've seen too many.
I'm joking. It was a joke. I'm sorry.
You bastard.
This is parody law. It's definitely parody law. We didn't mean that. I promise.
No, I'm gonna cut it.
No.
I cut it. Okay. The thing is that Courtney Love was the front woman for Hole, and she played with that band while Kurt Cobain was in Nirvana. So they were coming up back in the back in the 90s. They were coming up at the same time. But I'm sure there's always that feeling that Kurt Cobain would always take the spotlight from her. I mean, you could argue even in death he still does,
for sure.
But that's not to say that Courtney Love doesn't have any talent of her own, because I saw her in the closest thing to a serious movie she's ever done was what is it? The one about the Larry Flint movie with Woody Harrelson, where Woody Harrelson plays Larry Flint.
The one where he gets involved in that war overseas? Am I thinking of a different one?
No. I think it's like the People versus Larry Flint. It's basically a biography of the guy who made Hustler.
Okay.
And he got sued for an ad where he showed this mega preacher doing a confession about having sex with his mother in an outhouse. And he got sued, and he took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in the pornographer's favor of free speech. And that was by Woody Harrelson played Larry Flint, and Courtney Love played his very troubled wife, who basically died in a drug overdose. So, perfect role for Courtney Love. But even so, she was still a great actress in it. She's still pretty good in it. She has, what I'm trying to get at is that she has talent of her own, but her own talent will always be foreshadowed. And because that's why Violet, by her band, was chosen for the outro.
But also, they have a song called Jennifer's Body.
Okay, sure.
Which was released in like the 90s or whatever, or early 2000s, which I'm sure it was part of the reason this movie is named Jennifer's Body.
Okay.
Can we stay on music for a second?
Sure, absolutely.
Because first of all, me just loving like I guess 2009 might count as early 2000s. I don't know. The needle drops are fucking great. One thing that I loved is that with Low Shoulder in the movie, this is like one of everyone's like favorite fun fact from this movie, is that Low Shoulder was inspired by Maroon 5, which is funny that they mention it in the movie, because people were like, how are Maroon 5 like almost like canonically disliked band, but they sell out shows everywhere, including in America, overseas, everything. How are they doing that? They must have like made some sort of deal, sacrificed a virgin, whatever. That's literally what Low Shoulder does. and like one of the, I think it was like the guitarist or the bassist, or whatever, is like, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I want to do this. He's like, do you want to be working at this coffee shop forever, or do you want to be big, rich, and famous like Maroon 5? And he's like, Maroon 5.
Can I just read the lyrics to the song?
Sure.
Jennifer's Body, which is not used in this movie, which I think it should have been.
It should have. Two on the nose.
Okay, sure. Okay. I'll just read the entire lyrics. I know it, I can't feel it. Well, I know it enough to believe it, and I know it, I can't see it, but I know it enough to believe it. To better you, to better me, my bitter half has bitten me. It's better than you, it's better than me, sleeping with my enemy, myself. The pieces of Jennifer's body found pieces of Jennifer's body. Just relax, just go to sleep. Repeat it again. You're hungry, but I'm starving. He cuts you down from the tree. He keeps you in a box by the bed, alive, just barely. He said, I'm your lover, I'm your friend, I'm pure. And he hits me again with a bullet number 1. Kill the family, save the son himself. The pieces of Jennifer's body found the pieces of Jennifer's body. Just relax, go to sleep. Just relax, go to sleep. Now she's mine.
I'm going to listen to that on my drive
That
home.
sounds so fucking intense, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like, holy crap.
Yeah, dude, that's has to be inspiration for this film for
Absolutely.
sure. But the I feel like when this part came on, because I was trying to think of like why they chose specific songs or whatever, and like specific lines from songs to be more amplified than others. When Jennifer lures Colin, and it's Akon's "I Wanna Love You" is playing, I thought that was fucking genius, because, well, number one, a certified banger. Number two, Jennifer, that's how she's able to lure all these men. She's like, I'm about to put the pussy on you, like you want to come with me, you know what I mean? Like, and it's the repeat of the "I wanna love you" in the hook. Of course, men are gonna be like, absolutely, because that's her call. That's her siren's call, and they go to her, and then they die, sort of thing. So I love that they used the certified banger of Akon's "I Wanna Love You" as like her siren call, because it kind of encapsulates how she's able to kill all these men who are seeing that there's other men, and they're very tight-knit community that are dying, and whether they're already naked, whether they're panted down, whatever, through sex, they're dying pretty much. And they're just like, yeah, but Jennifer wants to bang, so like, I'm gonna go for it.
Well, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
When Colin was driving up, he was listening to that like punk cover of "I Can See."
No, rock cover of "Sunshine Rainy Day."
I can see clear. So like that's the mindset of these guys. You know, that girl looks them in the face and they go, "Oh, it's all clear to me now." As you said, I'm gonna get that pussy put on me. So like,
Well, I think there's more to that song in that moment than that, because Colin, he looks like this emo goth teenage boy, high school boy.
I love Colin. I love him so much. Oh.
And so, but he's driving to meet Jennifer, playing that song, but that's a happy song, but it's done in an emo rock way. And then he meets Jennifer, and then he gets scared by the rats, and she's like, oh, I thought you emo guys like death and shit.
Yeah.
So that kind of shows, what he really cares about. He's actually an optimist. He's not all that dark. Not really. That darkness is a facade for him. So I think this movie is also making fun of those who use darkness as a facade to try to to give themselves a personality when they don't actually have a personality.
And when Jennifer is so metal, but she dresses in pink and mini skirts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just love it. Yeah.
Also, quick little anecdote. It has nothing to do pretty much with what we were just talking thematically. But I just thought this part was very funny. Hey, no, I know you guys don't like that in this podcast, but I thought this part was hilarious. When he's about to ask, Colin's about to ask Jennifer on the date, and they're in the school hallway. First Jennifer asking if he had the homework for Hamlet, and she asked if he's gonna fuck his mom. He's like, no, I don't think so. And then he goes to ask her on the date, and he's like, there's a midnight screening of Rocky Horror, and she was like, what'd she say? She's like, I don't like boxing movies. He's like, he's so fucking offended.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not a fucking boxing movie.
Well, at that point, okay, so when it comes to men, okay, there's a level, there's an equilibrium of hotness versus brains, okay?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you can be hot, but if you're totally stupid and we just can't talk to you, then we just can't talk to you. And no matter how hot you are, we're not going to talk to you. We're only be alone. So you need to have some smart. That's what that's about.
It still works though, because even though Jennifer was like, yeah, you can come to my house instead, he was like, bet. Because he obviously, other than her being hot, because he's really been looking at Needy this entire time, but once she's sort of on a quote equal playing field with looks, according to what Jennifer said and everything, he then looks to Jennifer. He's like, yo, come Rocky Horror with me.
Well, that goes to that competition thing because how that happened was they were talking about Needy and Jennifer were talking about Colin, and Jennifer was saying how she doesn't like him at all, and then Needy was like, well, I think he's okay, and that's the point when Jennifer targets Colin.
Yes.
So Jennifer targets Colin because she wants to prove that she's prettier and better than Needy is.
Yeah.
Which goes on to the whole insecurity thing.
True.
Yeah.
One other thing about Colin is like, okay, whenever she's about to kill him, and she's like, he says, do you even know my last name? It's like he's upset that she's not actually interested in him, but he already knew she wasn't, and she had nothing in common with him from the beginning. So it's just like this weird, like, I don't know.
No, you're right.
You're absolutely right.
He's a hypocrite because of
yes, exactly. Yes.
And well, speaking of hypocrite, the moment that she kind of questions his, I thought you emo guys were into death and all of that. We've already seen through the facade in the scene leading up, and the moment that she has like kind of questioned and ripped through it is the moment that he's become insecure enough that she can get him frightened, and that she can, because she needs him to be frightened in order to feed off of him.
That's a very good
And that's
point.
the moment she has him.
God, I love this goddamn movie so much.
I wanted to say one more thing about, so, because, Jennifer goes after Chip, and there's a billion other guys.
Because Chip is Needy's boyfriend.
Yes.
Yeah.
She has to take away the only thing that Needy has that she doesn't have. And it reminded me of a SpongeBob episode that me and Ciara watched recently, where SpongeBob finds a coin, and Mr. Krabs does everything in his power to take that one coin away. Sorry, just remember.
But it's not even. Did we even finish that episode?
Yeah.
So it's not even a coin. It was a fucking piece of like gum. It's
Yeah.
a piece of gum. But Krabs thought it was a penny this entire time, and so he built a whole movie theater.
He spends millions
To get this one penny because it's something that he doesn't have.
Like that's such like a freaking like biblical, like
It's a
like parable. You know what I'm saying? It's insane. I just love that this captures that so beautifully.
Well, another thing is that perhaps by feeding on Chip, maybe she's trying to make Needy hopeless so that she can feed on Needy later. Or at least make Needy more dependent on her. Since she took away her boyfriend.
Interesting.
More needy.
I don't know. I like that though. I don't know about it. I don't know if I agree, but I like it.
Okay, that's fair.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
It's a big change of pace, so continue on that.
Mine sort of too was just like a quick little thing. So I was thinking about the Through the Trees song. First, how fucking annoying is it? Two,
But, hold on. Through the trees. Hold on, it's annoying. But it's very well produced. I mean,
yeah, it's like it bangs.
What are you talking about? That bass is so low in the mix.
it's one of those parodies that are so great that it's a great example of what it's parodying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't notice until, even though this is my 6th time seeing it, I didn't notice until this viewing that when Needy's in like solitary confinement,
yes.
and it's like elevator music playing, it's Through the Trees.
Yes.
I just fucking noticed
It's
that.
an instrumental, like, lullaby version of that song.
Mm-hmm. But also, again, I might be reaching with this, but I feel like I'm allowed to. It's like my 1,000th time watching it. Through the trees, I will find you, I will heal, yada yada, right? So when Jennifer is telling Needy about how Low Shoulder tried to fuck her up over in the woods or whatever, one of the last things she says, like to close off the story, was like, all I needed to do was just find my way back to you, sort of thing. So technically, Jennifer, through the trees, was determined to find Needy.
And there's a shot where Needy is running through the trees to, get to Chip or Jennifer,
right?
Both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, does she heal Jennifer by killing her, by ridding her of the demon?
Technically, yeah.
In a way.
So yeah.
Around that same time, this is really out of left field, but we were talking on screen. You saw that big green field with the lights, looked a little misty. There's the park bench, right? They had referenced the Evil Dead, and they're going to like a dance. And in my opinion, her outfit, the hair, it looked very like 80s. I couldn't stop thinking about the scene from Better Off Dead, where the boy on the bicycle, $2! I was waiting for that kid on the bike to roll through the background as Needy's sprinting through the field as like a little tongue-in-cheek bike and shot reference to Better Off Dead. Anyway.
Well, if we can, let's talk about like all the references to movies that I see in this movie. Because I saw Scream and Jason X because of the Metacon commentary, which we kind of talked about. But another movie is Near Dark with Lance Henriksen, who shows up at the end of the movie. And it's a fucking crime that none of you people know who Lance Henriksen is.
I knew the second he came on screen, I was like, Steven's going to say something. Like, I felt that.
Well, I mean, he was also in Aliens. He was in Millennium, which is a TV show, which is a spinoff of X-Files. So, he's a great, incredible actor. So he was in Near Dark, which is a vampire movie that was made. Hold on, I need to get this right. Yeah, Near Dark was directed by Catherine Bigelow, and it's one of the best vampire movies because it shows like the vampire as the true monster that it is. What it is they're a whole group of vampires who wander the Southwest in a van with blacked out windows. And there's a great scene, it's an iconic scene with Bill Paxton, who's a vampire, and they're going through this redneck bar and just, ripping people up, showing their vampireness, in all of its violent glory. So that's great.
Oh, Catherine Bigelow did Strange Days.
Yeah, she did Strange Days. Yeah, Zero Dark 30. Near Dark, unfortunately, incredibly out of print. And so there's that. Another movie is Fright Night.
Good one.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah, both the original and then the remake with Anton Yelchin and...
David Tennant.
And
who else was in it? I can't remember.
He played Bullseye in the Bad Daredevil movie.
No.
Fuck.
The other guy.
He was in Bruges.
Oh, it's Danny DeVito.
No, it's
Colin Firth.
Colin Firth.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell. Yes. The other Colin.
If it was Colin Firth, it'd be a totally different movie.
Totally different movie. It was so lit.
But yeah, so with Fright Night, it's that vampire as sex object. Because Sarandon,
Susan?
her ex-husband.
Holy shit.
He was in the original Fright Night.
Okay.
He plays Prince Humperdinck in
Shrek.
No, Princess Bride.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah.
His name gone. Don't know what it is.
Hold on, I have to know this.
You guys have the Google machine.
Yeah.
My nails are too tappy to do it. You're just gonna hear that for the rest of the podcast.
Hey, tomorrow.
Yeah, Chris Sarandon. Chris Sarandon was in the original Fright Night, and like that movie is so sexy. It's so sexy because the teenage boy who's his next door neighbor, like he just sees him bringing over all of these women, a different woman every night. So yeah, this movie is very sexy, just like Fright Night is. And it's that vampire as sexual predator, which happens in Jennifer's body.
Right.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, although this is an inversion of that.
Yeah.
But also, well, kind of, because Jennifer, she becomes a monster instead of a monster hunter. But then Needy becomes the Slayer.
Right.
So, and she, even gets superpowers, and then, by the end, it kind of alludes to, her ongoing adventures as a demon hunter, but with the powers of the demon. So there's that influence, which is great. Carrie, obviously. Evil Dead, yeah, Twilight, Neon Demon, American Werewolf in London, because in that movie, the werewolf, he hallucinates his dead friend. Well, he doesn't hallucinate. His dead friend talks to him and tells him what he has to do, and all of his victims, they can't have a restful death until he himself dies.
Right.
So he sees, the dead victims. That's like that hallucination that Needy has while she's having sex with Chip, and she sees Jonas's dead body and then Jennifer. So I think that's a reference to that. So
Monster,
okay,
the movie with the woman sex worker turned serial killer.
Eileen Wuornos.
That movie reminded me of this movie in a way. Just because, a good for her type movie. But also that relationship between Charlize Theron's character and Christina Ricci's characters, their relationship is also very similar to this in a way, in a sort of it's a toxic relationship. But there is some sort of love there, some sort of care there, amidst the desperation. That's one of my movies on the list that I want to make you watch. Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I'm gonna make you watch that.
Okay.
Alice?
Oh, so if we're talking about other similar movies to this, I want to recognize David Mullen, the cinematographer for this movie, has done a couple of horror movies directed by women, and one that I feel is tonally a very different movie, but kind of plays with similar themes, is a film he did much more recently, The Love Witch.
I'm dying to see.
Yeah.
What
Do
was
you
that
want to
about?
go on about Love Witch and how it corresponds with this movie?
Um,
Like any similarities?
Well, The Love Witch is about is a witch who sexually lures women into her sort of lair where she kills them and consumes their blood.
Oh. So by similar, you mean very similar.
Yeah.
Okay. But also very different.
It's more of like a witchy blood magic kind of thing. And it's on a cinematography note. I mean, this cinematography in this film is Jennifer's Body is very well executed, especially the gorgeous moonlight kind of stuff. But The Love Witch is very much trying to be evocative of 60s, 70s movies, and it is almost shot like a period film, and they do a lot of work to reproduce that kind of photography, and it's all the way down to the set design and the dialogue, and it is very, very much supposed to be that, like, this movie is ripped out of the late 60s and early 70s, and this movie, Jennifer's Body, is so referential, in all of the ways that you just mentioned.
Okay, yeah.
I was going to say, maybe Suspiria, just because of the, competition between women and...
Oh, the original or the remake?
The original. I haven't seen the remake. Yeah, and, witchy magic and blood.
So speaking of the cinematography for a second, I just want to point out, because ever since I learned about them, I always keep my eye out for them, and I always have to point them out. But this movie has a diopter shot.
Yes, it does.
Explain to me what that is.
Okay, so a diopter shot is, so when you're looking at an image, okay, you have what's in the foreground and what's in the background. But the thing is, your eye can only focus on one at a time.
Yeah.
You either have the foreground in focus or the background in focus. A diopter allows you to have the foreground and the background in focus at the same time, so you have to choose what you look at.
Gotcha.
In this movie, it's when...
Was it with Jonas and...
No, it was very early on. It was when Amanda Seyfried was in her prison cell, and you see, I think, like, her hands off to the left, and then the guard comes into the door on the right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a diopter shot.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Because it's all in focus.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
But there's also still things out of focus, too, which is...
Well, it's only out of focus where the diopter splits the screen. Because Brian De Palma, he fucking loves diopter shots. But and he uses one in Carrie, which is fucking terrible.
But what I mean is, it's not like deep focus. Like, everything isn't in focus.
No. It's not. Yeah, it's not deep focus.
There are things that are out of focus, but it's able to keep two things in focus in different planes.
Yeah. Usually, one side of the screen will be in the foreground, and the other side of the screen will be in the background, and that's how you know it's a diopter shot and not deep focus.
Well, there are different kinds of diopters. This is specifically a split diopter.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you, cinematographer Alice.
Yes.
There were two shots that are basically identical in the movie, and it was with Jennifer and Jonas on the football field. Jonas is very much in the foreground, and we see Jennifer walking up to him. And then she kind of pops up on the other side of him.
Yes, she does that a lot. Yeah. I love it.
And then I was about to call him Young Neil. What's his name?
Chip.
When Chip is walking to the spring formal, and we see Jennifer trailing behind him, and then there's like a faint like, and then he turns around, there's nothing there, and then she pops up in front of him. I love that they did two of those for some reason. I love when they do that. I'm easily entertained. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Well,
they very clearly set up the geography that she is coming from the other direction.
Yeah.
And she appears at the other direction. So it's not like it's a trick shot. No, she actually
It's very much a Halloween shot. And I love that so much.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the few moments where they pay homage to, like, classic thriller horror movies, I think.
I love all the fun Batman shit that she does, like coming from the other direction and jumping out of windows.
I love when she jumps out of windows. I love when after she gets impaled, because like when we see her jump out of a window, it's like, oh, she's so fucking badass when she's jumping out of Needy's window, and when she's like going out of the window of the pool house, she's like slumping. Like we don't hear the impact of her hitting the ground. We can only imagine she's like, because she just got like however many feet of like rusted bar through her stomach, and she's not healing.
But maybe she doesn't hit the ground.
She just floats away.
And like very, very low to the ground, like knuckles like dragging on the floor.
Well, Dan, you mentioned her turning into a bat. The thing is, and it's important to point out, she is not a vampire.
No, she is a succubus.
Yeah, well, yeah, she's a demon. But the funny thing is like it's easy to get mixed up because this movie uses so many vampire tropes. I mean, I thought it was a vampire movie. I thought that's what it was going to be.
Yeah, even in the beginning when she opens the door the first time after.
Yeah, it's like inviting a vampire in.
Comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this film is totally filmed like it's a vampire movie, and it uses a ton of vampire tropes. But technically speaking, she's a demon, not a vampire.
She's a succubus.
Yeah, succubus demon. Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I love about this movie is how absolutely timely or dated. I don't know which word to use. It's very much 2009. Like
Dated.
It's very very dated. It's,
Oh, you mean the
Of
what
its
is it, the
time.
2003
yeah, like
Sebring?
yeah, exactly. Like again, not to circle all the way back to dialogue because we spent forever on dialogue, but just like how perfectly dated it is. I had some the I feel like boo boo. Which you know what that is, that's shit. So instead of Jennifer just saying I feel like shit after she hasn't been feeding for a while and Needy's like, you look really tired. She's like, oh, do I feel like boo boo. She says, whatever character football player that was friends with Jonas, when Jennifer goes up to him, Craig or whatever his name is, Jennifer goes up to Jonas after Craig's death and was like, you know what, Craig told me, like I was the last person to speak to him before he died. He said we'd make a totally banging couple.
Banging.
He said banging?
He said banging? Right. Like, and these are only terms that you would really hear in the early 2000s. They kind of like left after a while.
Well, I mean, I was an adult in 2003.
Fair enough, yeah.
And I'm an even older adult now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just consider that the weird shit that, teenagers say for a year and then move on to other stuff.
Like some of the dialogue, it almost felt like an AOL like chat. You know, like it was great. And when I forgot who she says it to, but she says, it was Jonas. When she goes to lure him and they're like making out in the woods and he's like, you're so warm. Why are you so warm? And she's like, shutties. She's telling him to shut up. But just saying shutties instead of like, or just like shut up. I thought that was fantastic. Just the dialogue was just so goddamn perfect in this movie. I just cannot get over it. And the delivery was also just fucking spot on. It was absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. And something else I noticed is, there's another one of my favorite quotes from this movie. When Jennifer feels like intimidated or like offended or something, her comebacks are always very rushed, and it's as if there's no period in them. So like the example I gave earlier when Needy said that she was insecure, she's like, I'm not insecure, Needy, gosh, that's a joke, how could I ever be insecure, I was the snowflake princess or whatever. Like it's just so just spitfire. And there's a moment earlier where I don't remember what, I almost called him Neil again, Chip. Thank you. When Chip was saying something to Needy and Jennifer when they were going to Melody Lane, and Jennifer says, "You're lime green jello. You're lime green jello, and you can't even admit it to yourself." I can't even say that fast, but she's like, she just starts just spitfiring all of this stuff to almost mask her insecurity because people are starting to see into it pretty much, even though that's very very early in the movie. We only really see it again when Needy calls her insecure. So I love that they kind of brought that back full circle.
Yeah.
I love
set up for a great payoff.
Yeah, I love really, really, really well done full circle moments. And I feel like this movie is just chock full of them. It's great. And even just other moments from the movie that I feel like I said earlier, when it's like really intense moments, but they say something so snarky or so weird, but it fits so well. When Chip and Needy are in the park after Jonas is dead and the cops are at his house and everything. And she's like, Needy's like, why are they at your house, Chip? And Chip's like, no, that's Jonas's house. And she was like, did he try selling fake peyote to 8th graders again?
Yeah.
As if like that's why there's like a shit ton of cops and like an emergency truck and all this stuff. And she's just like, is it the peyote again?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's wonderful. And the moveon.org and just all of this stuff and the even moments where it feels like there should have been more, but it made sense as to why there wasn't more of a reply. When Jennifer is like, I am a god, and Needy's like, okay, I gotta go. Because it really is such teenage dialogue, teenage conversation.
Yeah. Well, teenage girl dialogue. It's teenage girl.
Teenage girl dialogue. And people try to get it right now, and it just never fucking works. It falls flat every single goddamn time. But for this movie specifically, I don't know how who was it? Diablo
Cody.
I don't know how the fuck Diablo Cody was able to do this so damn perfectly and just without fail. But this is one of my favorite movies, dialogue specifically, I've ever watched in my entire life, I think.
Did it the same way that Low Shoulder did it.
Well, I know.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, if we can move on real quick, like, I love all the Low Shoulder stuff. I love their acting, and I love their delivery of lines too. Especially when they're trying to get the front man is trying to get Jennifer into their van.
Yes.
And he just spouts this shit, and it's so casual. And she listens to him.
Where are we going? And you don't have to talk if you don't want to.
Well, yeah, that's my favorite line in the movie, because that's so passive aggressive.
To get them into the van, he goes, "You want to head somewhere?" It's like, "It's really dangerous out here. Do you want to head somewhere safer, like in my van?"
Yeah.
Takes a sip of his scotch.
Yeah, which he then
in her face.
Yeah. I love that scene.
It's just so good. And even though it's not a line from them, the fact that they're like on a sold out national tour, and they said they're gonna give the school 3% of the proceeds. Holy shit, that was one of the funniest lines. Like, when I showed it to you, I think I paused the movie. When I showed it to Daniel, I paused it completely because I was laughing way too hard, because I never noticed that my other watchings. When I first watched this movie, I was like 10. I didn't catch that. Now, what the fuck? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Sorry. Almost fell out of my chair.
And then you find out that most charities, they take like most of the profits to pay for their own administration and staff, and give themselves salaries before it ever goes to actually helping somebody.
Exactly.
So,
Could I?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
There's one thing I want to talk about. Like, it's similar to parts of this movie, especially with the narration, feel like prose, and but there's one thing that like sticks in my head throughout the whole movie, and I think it's like one of the best visual like metaphors or whatever. But she says about the lead singer of Low Shoulder, he was skinny and twisted and evil, like a petrified tree I saw when I was a kid. And then it cuts to that tree, and I don't know, that to me was just like a mind-blowing shot when I first watched it. This shot, this watch through, I was writing things down, so I didn't really get a good look at it. But I still remember like the branches of the tree and like how terrifying it was. And I don't know, I think that tree has a lot of symbolism throughout the whole movie, because, you know, what is a tree, and why is a tree evil? You know, and why does she associate this tree with this man? And I think that it's referenced as, you know, like a tree, like a cross. You know, they often say, you know, Jesus was put up on a tree. And you know, and I don't know, I just think it's like a really significant symbol for the movie.
Well, I think what it is that you get feelings that you are in danger, or that something is unsafe, or something is evil, or something is evil, and you don't know why. And because you don't know why, and it's just a feeling that you can explain, you don't know if you should consider it evil or not. Because that then goes to, like we said before, you know, teenagers walking into danger. So I think that was kind of like an allusion to that, you know.
When you think of an old petrified tree, the words that come to my mind are hollow and empty, things that Jennifer was talking about being after she hadn't fed for a while. So maybe, you know, you become that tree when you lose what's inside of you.
Well, what it made me think of is there's a song, and it's called "Let's Hear It for the Boys."
Oh, great song.
But it unnerves the fuck out of me.
Why?
I always hate listening to it.
That's so funny.
And I can't explain why.
You know what? I sort of get that. I
think it's like why people are afraid of clowns.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like. That's why that song unnerves me, because it's not a scary song at all. But it's like just so chipper and happy in a certain way. It's like nobody deserves to be that happy.
You're talking about the song from Footloose. Let's Hear It for the Boy.
The song, the '80s song.
That is the song.
Yeah, it unnerves me.
You know what?
Okay, and I can't explain why.
You know what's crazy? Mine is Raining Men by the Weather Girls.
Okay.
I don't know why, because I know it's a banger. I know it's a certified banger. Whenever that song starts out, like, I don't know if it's just like the dum dum, but I'm like, oh, like every time, like the hair sticks up in the back of my neck, and I feel like with the tree and everything, and like sensing evil but not knowing what it is, and having that experience as a child, I feel like that also alludes to their just being a child and having a friendship too, sort of in a very, you know, reaching kind of way, because these things affect you at such a young age that they stick with you forever. You know, because like it was probably such like a random moment where when she was a child, she sees this tree, she's like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? But she never forgot about it ever, and that's why she's able to relate it to Nikolai, the lead from Low Shoulder. And also with Needy and Jennifer's friendship, however the hell they became friends, who knows, but that was very significant. Whatever they shared, whatever they had in common at that time was very significant. Maybe it was the little tack that was in her hand and she, you know, cleaned up the blood with her mouth, whatever it is. Like, there are things that will just stick with you and they will never leave you, whether it's an image of something, whether it's an actual relationship with someone. Yeah.
Well, you know, now you got me thinking. So magic kind of exists in this world because they're able to do a satanic ritual. And their high school has a very small occult section in which everything they read is actually true.
Right, exactly.
So maybe, and if you remember, Needy always knows when Jennifer like arrives.
Right.
And then, you know, later when she's having sex with Chip, you know, she hallucinates Jennifer. As Jennifer
is killing
Colin, she sees the hallucination of her and Jonas. So what I'm getting at here is their connection. It might have been formed like when she, you know, sucked the blood out. So that formed a primal connection between the two. And so, you know, that's why Jennifer, like even Jennifer, you know, she becomes a full-on demon. And then Needy, she gets demonic powers. But it's unclear is if she is a demon herself or if she just has the powers. So she still has a connection to Jennifer in that way. You know, and a very bodily one as well, just like, you know, sucking blood from Jennifer's hand as a kid.
I was thinking that too. And I also think that it's because when you have such like tight friendships, it's like I can think I know what my friend is thinking, I know what they're feeling, sort of thing. Like even with me and Dana, we've been best friends for years before we started dating. And today we were talking about something and I was gonna make a joke and he immediately said yes and started laughing about whatever I was about to say. And then I said it, he's like, I knew you were gonna say that. Like it's like one of those things where unless you experience it, you don't really know it. But when you have such a very close friendship with somebody or just a close relationship with somebody, you have those moments. You know exactly what they're thinking. You know exactly what they're feeling. You feel like even if they're far away, like I'll feel like, you know, I feel a little bit uneasy. I don't know why I am, but I'll text one of my friends and I'm like, hey, you good? Because they pop up in my head and they're like, actually something like this is going on, yada, yada. It's like one of those seemingly like magic moments within relationships.
And Needy is able to tell that Jennifer's in the house without seeing Jennifer or having any signs that Jennifer appears.
Right.
And also, I think that Jennifer is able to sense Needy. I forget where I saw an indication of that, maybe. But I think it happens in the movie where Jennifer is acting strangely right before Needy shows up, as if she's expecting Needy. But yeah, just another example of that.
It's not right at that part where she busts in through the window, is it? Because she stops what she's doing.
Yeah,
and she
it is.
Sits
It
up
is.
A little bit.
Yeah, it is.
Which I love that whole sequence. Because when you have very close relationships with somebody, and they hurt you so terribly, everything that you've ever probably questioned about your friendship, your relationship, whatever, anything you ever questioned, then comes to light. It's like, oh, I was totally right about this, this, and this. And so that fight between Needy and Jennifer at the end of the movie is so incredibly personal, not just because Jennifer killed Chip, but everything that Chip had either warned Needy about with Jennifer, anything that Needy had ever questioned or been like, Jennifer's kind of a bitch about it, but we're friends, sort of thing. All of that was in her choking her.
Yeah.
You know?
It becomes a moment of clarity.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I think, because the first time when I watched this movie, I actually got a little emotional when they started fighting at the very end, because I knew she was going to kill Jennifer. That's like how the movie was supposed to end. But I was getting kind of misty because I was really upset.
Well,
Because it felt
you
so personal and so just like not even just like outside the realm of like supernatural stuff. It was just like these two best friends that have been like so like intrinsically linked are now like fighting to the death pretty much.
Yeah, it reminds you of your own friendships that you've had with other women, whereas with me, it reminds me of the friendships that my older sisters would have with their female friends, and then how they would, oh my God, you did this, but you're supposed to be my friend. How could you? That's what that reminded me of.
Yeah, because it's an experience.
But you're on the inside, and I'm on the outside, and that's what the difference is. Right,
because it's an experience that most people, maybe specifically women, have experienced. Because it doesn't have to be necessarily an action. Even it can even just be something that you've heard, like, oh, someone said that your best friend said this about you, and it's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's so much deeper. Because it's almost like a less of like a moral thing, more of like a soul thing. Like it's just like it's because you've shared so much of yourself with your friend, and it feels like losing that friend, you're losing a part of yourself. And so to make the initial like action of separating yourself from that person, it literally feels like you're cutting off limbs.
Can I make you just said deeper, right? And you were going to say it's deep like, and I wanted to say the devil's kettle. And then you end it with cutting yourself off after, you've cut that person off after they're gone. Right at the end of the movie, what comes out from the devil's kettle that, I guess you smell the knife. Yeah, so...
It's also, the knife that Low Shoulder used to kill Jennifer is the knife that... Needy uses to kill the Shoulder, to get revenge.
Which I love. Again, another full circle moment.
Well, that's another thing. Like, even though she ended her friendship with, she ended her friendship with Jennifer and killed her, but she also got revenge against Low Shoulder for killing Jennifer. And then that also brings us to what Dan was saying about whether it was Jennifer or the demon. So, yeah.
Is it wrong to say that Jennifer's body as a concept is sort of like a weirdly inverted Frankenstein's monster, where rather than creating something and unleashing it upon the world and wanting for it to be accepted, finding it, rejected, something is created within you and you're maybe not trying to hold it back, but you know that you can't let it out because you, as it was put, eat boys. So, I don't know. Maybe there's something there, but I'm not equipped to discuss it.
We talked about, I like where you're going with the Frankenstein monsters thing and wanting to be accepted or not. I think there's something there for sure.
So that's
something that all teenagers want.
Yeah.
And that's what Jennifer needs the whole movie. That's why she is so flawed and why she takes laxatives and why she feels that she needs to have Needy as a,
almost like a buffer.
As a punching bag.
Yeah, as a punching bag, as a vampire.
There's a great,
No, I get what you're saying there, where she was very much a vampire of other people's desires.
Oh, Ciara, what you said about Jennifer needing Needy as a buffer, it reminds me of this old Saturday Night Live sketch where instead of getting plastic surgery to look better, what you do is you pay for an ugly person to be a friend and stand around you so you look better by comparison.
What is that Vine? I have never seen two pretty women best friends together.
Oh yeah.
What's that from?
It's like a Vine or a TikTok or something.
Oh, okay.
But it's like it's said way funnier than that and way like yeah.
And then that
goes two pretty best friends in the same spot. Yeah, stupid shit like that.
And that goes to that whole toxic femininity that we were talking about before. So, yeah.
Also, this was just something super dumb that I wrote down, but I found it. Needy runs a fucking lot in that sequence. From she's going from the spring formal to the pool house, which I thought was close by. to go save Chip from Jennifer. But bitch is running. Oh my gosh. Like she's got like she's a track star, dude. Like
that's part of why that part reminded me of Better Off Dead, because in that part of the movie, the guy's running through the field trying to get to the dance site.
Like she makes Forrest Gump look like I don't even know. Like it's absolutely insane. It makes him look like a sloth. Like she's just fucking going. And I for some reason I wrote that down like as something significant.
She's got a Tom Cruise run through that entire.
She's a great runner.
In heels in this giant dress full of
barefoot.
Yeah. Oh, does she go barefoot at some point?
She's has no shoes, but she has like stockings or whatever.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
And that's why that reminds me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because in the last part of this movie, it becomes an action movie. Which Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that's it's kind of a comedy, horror, but also action as well. So,
can we talk about the wallpapers for a second?
Okay.
In the house. Her room was a reddish sort of floral print, yeah? And then right after the scene where she loses it to young Neil, Hot Chip.
Young Neil, Hot Chip.
Hey, it's how I'm trying to remember the guy's name. She's set in front of this black and white, like leaf pattern, and it's sort of like you were saying, they share this connection, and after this point, they sort of start to see rather Needy starts to see the actions more clearly, like, when they kiss, she knows, that sort of stuff. It's this blending of the light and the dark of Needy and of Jennifer. They've now shared, like I said, that one thing they now have in common. Now they're more intertwined. And that was the only time I think we really saw that black and white wallpaper in the film. I don't know if it was significant or if I'm just looking at the background too much.
Because I didn't catch that at all, so go for you. Go you, man.
Well, now that I went to film school, I always take quick glances at the background just to see if there's anything worth noting myself. So,
Can I talk more about the trees?
Okay.
Through the trees. That's another thing. There's a lot of trees in this movie. But the mom says specifically, "I dreamed some bad people were trying to nail you to a tree."
Just like JC.
Just like JC, yeah. Also, I mean, this could be really reaching, but I believe I haven't watched Evil Dead. But I mean, I guess trigger warning. I heard that someone basically gets assaulted by a tree.
Yes.
Assaulted by a tree.
Yes.
In the first Evil Dead.
Sorry?
No. It's I think it's the second. Oh, it might be the first.
No, it's the first, because that's why I haven't watched the first movie.
Oh,
because I was afraid to watch it.
Okay.
Anyways. But like, I don't know, it's just this idea of I don't know. I wish I could get there in my brain, but I can't.
Well, through the trees, it's almost like it's similar to like Into the Forest. So it's like into the woods. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of getting at. Going into the woods, into the fairy tale, into the dark fairy tale, where bad things happen. Because even though this is a horror movie, but it's a teen horror movie, and so you never know with a teen horror movie if they're going to cop out on the bad ending or on the tragedy or not. Because when Jonas gets killed and Colin gets killed, there's not much of an emotional impact. But when Chip gets killed, it's like, oh my God, they're going there. They're going full dark here. Just like an old Grimm's fairy tale would. And I'm really glad that this movie does that. I'm really glad that they go there, because I did not want to see Chip die. I did not want to see Chip die, and it almost made me as sad as when Samwise Gamgee gets killed in Stranger Things.
I didn't even watch that season because I don't like Stranger Things, but when I found that out, I was like, I definitely have to watch this bullshit. I was so mad.
That's another reason why I think it's interesting that Jennifer goes after Chip, because Jennifer doesn't have a boyfriend. Jennifer doesn't have someone who will accept her, for who she is in a way other than Needy. But Needy has Chip, and so that's why Jennifer needs to take Chip away in a way too.
Oh, that's true.
Why did I say so loud? So sorry. I was gonna say something.
Oh, you have no idea how often I have to cut the ums out on me, so don't worry about it.
Very cool. And I'm sorry, to go back to dialogue. I know I keep circling back to that. I apologize. The last thing I'm gonna say. There was another example of like ridiculous dialogue during like intense moments. Which is when Needy's trying to kill Jennifer and she pulls out the box cutter and she was like, you know what this does, or you know what this is for? It's for cutting boxes. And then Jennifer says, do you get all your weapons from the
Home Depot?
From Home Depot? God, you're butch. Like, what the fuck? It's just so good.
That's very Joss Whedon level kind of dialogue.
But it's so much, hold on. He's so much better than anything Joss Whedon is capable of.
Yeah. That is true. That is fair.
But Joss Whedon wants to write.
Wait, did you say that already that it cuts boxes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, my bad.
This movie was also a masterclass in getting product placement in there. You know, they probably got some money from Chrysler for the Sebring, a little bit from Home Depot for the line.
That's
budget,
true.
Lower that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
Because I do find it funny that when Nikolai says, you want to head somewhere safe, like my van, and Jennifer's like going for it, and Needy goes, but we have the Sebring. Who fucking calls their car by that? Like, it's like, I have my car.
If you were driving a 2003 Chrysler Sebring, you would call it the Sebring.
No, fair enough. But I thought that was so freaking funny. Because then later on, she just calls it her mom's car. Like, she says, well, my mom's car, and yada, yada, yada. But in that moment specifically, she's like, but we have the Sebring.
Well, afterwards, is that after she got, murdered and reincarnated?
No, that was before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But whenever she's going out of the house and she's picking Needy up, she's like, I have the Sebring until 11:30.
Oh, true. Yeah. And then one thing, when afterwards, after Melody Lane is burned down and everything, she goes home. Needy goes home, calls Chip, and is telling about how Jennifer's gone and all this stuff. And he's like, well, did you get like the make and model of the car? She's like, I don't know, Chip, an 87 rapist. Like, I think that was the one time where like, of course it's a funny line, but I probably would say some shit like that too. Like, this is the most real line I think in the whole movie.
Well,
like, what would you call it? Like, well, what is the car? I just know my friend got taken by this creepy ass band that totally burned down this whole building. I don't know what it was.
Well, I mean, you know how this movie feels about men right at the beginning when Needy is narrating in front of her window and she keeps saying how she gets letters from rapists and chesters.
Yeah.
Oh, perverts and chesters.
Yeah, perverts and chesters, yeah.
Chesters, one line.
So you know what this movie thinks about men, like, right away.
Also, did you notice when they're panning back? I don't know, through all the gifts she gets, I feel so insecure saying like Phil.
Dolly. It's
Dolly.
Dolly.
Thank you. I knew I was getting it wrong. You're seeing all of like the gifts she has, and there's like stuffed animals, whatever. There is an engagement ring, and then you have like a wooden carving of Jesus, and you have like a little cross over here. I just love that, like the attention to detail they put, because that is some shit you would get if you were some like good for her girl boss killer.
Well, also a teenage girl.
Yeah.
In prison.
Well, do people think of her as a good for her girl boss killer? Or do they think that she like killed all of these boys and her best friend?
I don't know, because it could also be when she mentions that the after Melody Lane burned down and these people start dying in her neighborhood, it gets like nationwide media coverage and everything. She says that everyone has a tragedy boner for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what it is. It's less of like, also she's like a cute little teen girl or whatever, but also it's just like, this poor girl, what happened to her, yada yada, here's all these gifts, marry me, and here's Jesus,
Yeah. That's those weird people who try to marry, these serial killers and serial killer groupies.
They're in love with Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, but usually it's women who act that way for men.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a role reversal. But so yeah.
Real quick, I guess, not really want to dwell on it too long, but we see like a few images of like Jennifer, like, showing off her powers as healing, but she does it by harming herself. She burns her tongue and she cuts herself with like a sewing needle or something. And I don't know, I just think it's interesting because she's able to hurt herself, but no one can tell. And she that's how she proves that she's a god, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's interesting.
Because she is the one who can hurt her. No one else can hurt her in this moment. That's what makes her above the people that would hurt her, essentially.
She just comes out with it. She says, yeah, it's real X-Men shit. No, first of all.
The hand. I wish you could see the hand. I wish you could see Steven's hand right now.
Okay, first of all, this took me out of the movie. Because there's no way, you know, a girl like that, even in 2003, would know what X-Men is. Okay. I know the movie came out, but she would not have seen that movie. Okay? No.
She's hanging out with Colin in the creative nonfiction course.
Yeah, come on.
No.
You can't
that was needy, though.
She may look like a cheerleader, but she's also
Steven, you can't
layers.
gatekeep comic books.
I'm not gatekeeping comic books. I'm not
Yes, you
gatekeeping. No. I'm just saying.
I disagree, Gary. I disagree.
Okay. So it makes more sense for her to know about this geeky comic book than to know about Hamlet. I mean, come on. No. I'm not buying it.
You're not buying it?
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
This is Hugh Jackman X-Men. Like,
it doesn't matter. No.
Everything we talked about.
She's not going to watch X-Men. If she knows Hugh Jackman, it's going to be from some other movie.
do you think women didn't see the X-Men movie?
No. I know that women saw the X-Men movie. I'm just saying that women like Jennifer did not see the X-Men movie.
Who are women like Jennifer?
Very vapid teenage girls who are extremely, just think on the surface levels of
But
stuff.
she's not vapid. She is an illusion.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
I know there's something deeper, but I don't think it goes X-Men deep. That's all I'm saying.
It doesn't go X-Men deep.
Or the X-Men
X-Men deep.
What?
Yo,
I'm coining that phrase.
that's gonna be our merch.
Back in 2003, for that kind
It
of
might be
woman-
Devil's Kettle deep, but it's not X-Men deep.
It's so fucking crazy.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I'm gonna say. But also, it's also that thing where supernatural creatures as superheroes and the mix between them. I haven't seen Twilight, but I'm sure that kind of thing happens. Where I know that's been a criticism of Twilight, where instead of like portraying you get these powers, but the horror is those powers come at a terrible cost to your soul, and you have to commit very heinous and evil acts in order to get those superpowers. And Twilight kind of circumvents that. So yeah, I thought that was noteworthy of talking about how horror movies they can make a superhero out of these creatures with these powers. And this one kind of does, but it subverts your expectations.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
it's not just.
If we're talking about vampires and Marvel stuff, it's like you become a vampire and you get these powers, and you become super famous, but then you do horrible things like tax evasion, and then your whole life is over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the best example of what I'm talking about would be Dracula Untold. I know nobody has seen that. I'm probably the only guy.
I've seen one.
Oh, okay. So you know what I'm talking about.
It's not X-Men, dude.
No, it's not. So yeah, Dracula Untold. Yeah, it's about a guy who specifically becomes a vampire just so he can get the powers to save his country. So that's vampire as a superhero movie, and one of the reasons why it failed, in my opinion. So I'm glad that they kind of made that allusion to.
Truly, the only vampire superhero movie that's done phenomenally well and delivered is Underworld.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
The silence.
Yeah.
It says everything.
Well, no, it's just I can do a deep dive about Underworld.
Isn't Morbius about vampires?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
that's specifically vampire as superhero because it's a vampire as superhero. It's from Marvel Comics, although it's in my Sony, so which explains a lot about why it failed.
Well, I think it would not have failed if he teamed up with Hugh Jackman. I think
What?
Back on the premise of Jennifer not knowing about the X-Men.
Yes.
She is the prototypical horny 18-year-old girl. You know, of course she knows who Hugh fucking Jackman is.
Of course she's seen X-Men. Like,
or at least the premise. If she's in high school at this time and X-Men has come out, everyone's talking about it. Maybe probably saw it with fucking Chip.
As a high school boy, do you think I ever watched a film with Renee Zellweger in it? Do you think I did not jerk off to Renee Zellweger? The two things are not mutually exclusive. She could have not watched X-Men, but jerked off to Hugh Jackman.
Renee Zellweger?
First one who came to my mind.
Of all people.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Oh, God.
All right. Sorry.
Fuck. I forgot what I was gonna say. No. One thing I found interesting that no one else cares about, but I really love this. I love that Jennifer has a Fall Out Boy poster in the back of her bed. But mostly like they talk about like fictional bands throughout the movie. And instead of having, even though there's already Fall Out Boy like cameo, they use Panic at the Disco instead. Like their new Perspective song. I thought that was very funny because they were sort of like coming up at the same time. They're almost like, even though they were friends, they're almost like rivals at the same time when it came to sales and stuff like that. So that's my little tidbit.
You know, I noticed that the Fall Out Boy poster was in the back, but I had no idea if it was a real band or not.
Shut the fuck up.
Kidding.
Are you serious?
Y'all didn't know who Lance Henriksen was, so don't come at me.
Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough.
Can I just say that some parts about the movie felt very anachronistic? Like in the opening scene, you've got the Fall Out Boy photo above the bed, and she's wearing like the leg warmers from the 70s, 80s, and watching that like workout.
A Bowflex, which Chip.
Yeah.
That's why Chip didn't need the mace.
That's nice.
Because it was Bowflex.
Yeah, it's a Bowflex.
Yeah.
Which fuck, a Bowflex? For some reason, that took me all the way back.
Yeah.
That was crazy. The little infomercial with the exercise and then him mentioning the Bowflex, I was like, God, this really is like early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, well, leg warmers came back big in the 2000s.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, but also, I think any movie that's of a given time period picks up a little bit of the time before it. If you make a movie in the 70s, you have 60s cars in it because no one starts buying, cars in, it's like, you're going to have some 90s Bowflex in your 2000s movie. You have to.
Yeah, how do you know that a movie was made in the early 80s? Because it looks like it's from the 70s. Yeah.
I don't even know what Renee Zellweger looks like.
I can't say it enough. I can't stress enough how much I love this movie, and I'm so happy that you guys were able to watch it for the first time, Steven and Christian, because I try to get most of my friends to watch the movie because I feel like there's still like that rejection from like when it came out, the like societal rejection of it that people still sort of like are really tied to. So once I can finally get my claws into somebody and make them watch it, I feel so like that's my equivalent to like Jennifer eating people. Like I'm so full right now.
Well, it's been, you all mentioned about how this movie wasn't well received when it came out. The thing is I'm pretty into horror, especially horror role-playing games. And since this movie has come out, I've seen it as a place to get inspiration from those role-playing games ever since. I haven't seen it, but I guess it's real, even though it didn't have a, hold on, I'm a bit tongue-tied. Even though it wasn't well received when it came out, I think that horror connoisseurs of that time watched it and appreciated it ever since, to be recommending it since it came out.
Oh, it's also developed such a cult following totally outside the horror fandom, particularly among our generation, Gen Z, more than anybody else. And we were not who this movie was made for.
Right.
This movie was made for teenage millennials.
Yes, Christian.
But has really, really found a home among a bit of a younger audience that has also similarly brought this huge revival from music of that era.
I think one of the things that Gen Z can appreciate it so much, like we were talking about before, is how this movie is about other people controlling you. And then, Gen Z and the boomer, that generation gap.
Well, that's the boomer thing is very much a millennial boomer gap because boomers were millennial parents. I mean, we're children of Gen Xers. It's not the same thing.
But the thing is that it's Gen Z now starting to get political. Now that the boomers have aged out and there's less boomers, the Gen Z are growing up, becoming voting age, and now they're able to start outvoting the dying boomers. That was my point.
But this movie in particular, as you mentioned, so much of it is hyper real and absurd.
Yeah.
And I think hyperrealism and absurdism are such core tenets of Gen Z media.
You mean kind of like how Kids in the Hall and their absurdist comedy was well known among millennials, and then how Monty Python was absurdist humor for.
I'm not saying absurdism is exclusive.
Okay.
Absurdism. There's a specific kind of hyperreal absurdism.
Okay.
That people notably talk about, especially on the sites you frequent, like Reddit. That I don't get Gen Z humor.
Right.
Gen Z humor is so specific and so odd and so niche and so Dada-esque.
Well, my whole question is, if each generation, when they are young, enjoys that absurdist humor.
It's different absurdism.
Monty Python is different than Eric Andre.
Yeah, it's a completely, it's completely different.
My point is that when you're young, it's very easy to enjoy absurdist humor.
I think
that's my point.
I think you're dwelling on the semantics more than the humor itself.
Okay.
I think the point went over here and you looked at this, kept looking this way.
I don't think that, but that's okay.
Okay.
All my friends in high school were extremely nihilistic in their humor. And absurd.
Also, another thing that I really liked from this movie, which is another little, just an anecdote that's unrelated, were the 9/11 troubleshooters.
Yeah.
Tower 1's not full enough.
You have to drink it quick before it gets brownish. What the fuck? I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. That's so fucking funny. And I hate how funny it is. And this was also...
Well, I mean, that's another major theme of this movie is how the public approaches tragedy and how they treat tragedy.
Yes, for sure. Because considering the year it came out, because this is a year after Obama became president.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I don't want to say this and then get doxxed. Of course, 9/11 was a tragedy, but it definitely became sensationalized for a very long time. It still is, very, very much so. And I vividly remember, around the time Obama was getting elected, people were for some reason, they also tied that to, him not caring about 9/11. For some reason, that was so freaking weird. And so that's when people started to feel, I guess, a little bit more comfortable joking about it a little bit, at least just the sensationalism of 9/11. And so that joke being 10 minutes into the movie was so fucking funny. And then for them to come back to it when she gets the shot, she's like, "Oh, Tower 1 isn't full enough." Dude.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was so good. Another way that this movie is just so fucking dated, but it's just done so well.
I wouldn't say dated, I would say of its time.
Of its time, for sure. Thank you. I knew I was looking for something better. Of its time, yeah. So good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we have to say about this movie?
I like that Nikolai described Jennifer as the State Fair butter princess.
How great is it that his name is Nikolai? I mean,
so great.
He's a villain.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that I don't know, it's just he lied and said he was from the city, but he's really from a small town like it. And he just brushes over that.
When Needy asked him, she was like, if you're from the city, why would you come to a place like Devil's Kettle? He's like, oh, we wanted to reach out to fans from the shitty places too.
What's funny about that line delivery is that he pauses before he says shitty places, so it's almost as if he's not sure if he should actually say it or not. And then they use that take.
Yeah. And the way he says it too, because there's a pause, so it almost seems like he almost feels like bad about saying shitty places. But the look on his face, he like means it. Like he's like Devil's Kettle is a fucking shit show. To the point where he won't even say Devil's Kettle. It's always Devil's fucking Lake. Always Devil's Lake, never Devil's Kettle. Even when he's still in Devil's Kettle on the radio. Talking about the tragedy in Devil's Kettle, he's like, it was really sad in Devil's Lake how all this stuff happened and yada yada. It's like, what a fucking jackass! Like Nikolai is such a great villain because he is. Essentially, he is absolutely the villain in the movie. Of course, we're supposed to assume that Jennifer is, but fuck no, good for her.
Yeah, it's carelessness.
Yeah, right. Like it's
and greed.
Exactly. Like anytime where you might feel like, oh, well, Jennifer's doing like really bad things, low shoulder always comes back in somehow, whether it's through mention or something. And it's like, well, they really are the fucking assholes of this film.
And did we talk yet about the killing scene, the sacrifice scene?
No.
Oh no, when they were singing 8, 6, 7, 5,
Yeah.
9. That's fucking crazy.
That scene is insane because the whole time there's just comedy dialogue from them, but every time you cut to Jennifer, it's like you don't feel funny at all.
No, at all.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I even wrote down that Megan Fox is so great in this movie already. She's period fantastic, but especially when she's acting scared. That's like the most like real visceral fear I've ever seen.
One other thing about her acting is she like her death scene is just fantastic compared to not crap on Chip's acting, but compared to Chip's death scene, hers was like so much, I don't know,
intense.
Yeah, it was so
visceral.
Intense. And Chip's was a little, because like
sad. It was just sad.
It was sad, but it also had like the whole like, oh, I'm leaning my head over and I'm dead. I'm signifying that I'm dead by moving my head, and like Jennifer's was just like a little more subtle than that, I think, and more desperate. And there's no great final word from her, there's no like finality, it's just my tit, It is final, but it's not grand or, it doesn't represent her life super well, or maybe it does.
You just hit on why I love the line delivery when Nikolai is trying to get Jennifer into the van, why I like it so much. And the reason why is because all throughout this movie is a horror comedy, but not in the way that Shaun of the Dead is, which I think set the bar for horror comedies. In this movie, and in most horror comedies, you have the comedy to undercut the horror, so the horror is more palatable, so that they can make the horror more intense. And so things are funny, even though it's a terrible situation. It makes a horrible scene more comedic. But in that scene where they're sacrificing her, they use comedy to intensify the horror.
Yeah,
for sure.
That would not have felt nearly as twisted if they didn't feel so detached, disconnected, and callous enough to make jokes.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down in my notes. The casual of evil.
Yeah,
how casual they are about doing these horrible things. And it's not like the banality of evil. It's just how casual it is. The guy just takes the drink of whiskey and then just shoves it in her hand and makes her drink it down and just grabs her, and they do it so casually. So
I think what separates it is because, like, of course, throughout the rest of the movie, there's a bunch of death scenes, right? But they're like supernatural death scenes. This is like human to human, absolute just terror. And that's why I think it felt so like it was a lot more visceral, there's a lot more emotional effect from it than the rest of the death scenes, including when Needy kills Jennifer, because yes, it was sad to me and everything, but it still was very much like she's killing a monster, whereas these when Jennifer's being sacrificed, they're just people. They're just human. They don't even know if this is going to work or not. He got the ritual spell online, as it printed out, like folded in his pocket. You know what I mean? Like there's just such like it's casual, and it's like I think that's what, I don't know.
It almost seems to be common knowledge. Like, you can find this stuff out online.
Right, but
know?
It's also just like the carelessness of it too, because like even if it doesn't work, which they're not guaranteed it's going to work, because they probably got it for fucking AOL again. There's no guarantee that it's going to work, so they're doing this anyway.
Mm-hmm. And it's just so cruel because she's tied up. She's helpless and hopeless.
Mm-hmm. And she's a kid.
Mm-hmm.
We seem to forget that these are high schoolers. You know what I mean? We're assuming they're seniors, but still they're children. And so I think that adds more to like the idea, because it's then when she's like tied up and she's screaming for help and she's terrified and shaking that we really see that she is a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And these grown men are just about to kill her because, one, they think she's a virgin because she's a child, and also because they think that it's going to get them superstardom with no guarantee of it actually working.
Mm-hmm. Man's inhumanity to man.
I want to say it's capitalism, and I can kind of justify that lens, but I don't know if you want me to do that.
I want to say it's gun control. I full on want to go there. I mean, you know.
Well, like, so what we're saying, the callousness, the casuality of evil, right? The exploitative nature of these people trying to hurt someone else in order to make their own betterment.
Right.
You can say that the exploitation of labor is as casual and common knowledge as these instructions to sacrifice a virgin that they print out from the internet. You know, you're told like, oh, you want to make it big, you got to go out there and start your own business and make money, and you know, who cares if they don't make enough money? You're the one who's reaping the rewards, you know. So
well, I mean, it also goes to say like how accessible evil and how accessible learning how to exploit others is nowadays in the information age.
And how okay you can be with it, to be jovially singing a one-hit wonders. Are they a one-hit wonder?
Essentially.
Yeah, a one-hit wonders tune while you're hoping to achieve that same fate. Make one big song, make it big, and then disappear.
I didn't catch that because now Low Shoulder are one-hit wonders too.
Yeah.
Within the trees.
Yeah.
The gun control thing, a lot of this, I was just thinking of like school shootings, you know?
Yeah, how easy it is to get a gun and just kill a lot of people and not feel anything about it. And then, you know, society not being able to do anything about
Nothing changes.
And moving on fast enough that tragedy is last week's emotion.
Yes.
it. Yeah, that too. Yeah, the tragedy boner. Isn't that what they refer to it as?
Alice quoted it directly and said, well, sorrow was last week's emotion.
Yeah.
Now everyone just wants to move on.
Yeah.
But it happens again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, just like in this movie, as, you know, Jennifer kills more people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
God,
And then, you know,
I love this fucking.
and then they blame the wrong person for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Mm. Oh.
Damn.
So, for the two that watched this for the first time, overall feelings of this movie, how do you feel about it?
It's I definitely suggest it more than I do George Washington. It's definitely above the George Washington scale for sure. You know, I heard of this movie since it came out, but you know, I just never watched it because I thought it was just going to be like, you know, your run of the mill vampire movie. And you know, I don't have anything against Megan Fox. I think Megan Fox is a lot more talented than she's been treated and how her career has been.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really glad I watched this now, and I probably would watch it again for sure. You know, I haven't seen The Love Witch, and I'm kind of hesitant to watch that, but I will watch it eventually. But I think this movie is a lot more accessible than Love Witch probably would be, I'm guessing.
For sure.
Yeah. So I think this movie is actually pretty accessible once you give it a chance. Yeah. And you know, it also helps that the dialogue knows that it's bad dialogue.
It's not bad dialogue.
Well, I'm saying it's bad on purpose is what I mean.
I don't think it's bad on purpose.
But you're saying that it's not realistic.
Yeah, it's not realistic. Yeah, because it sounds very vapid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's not complicated. It's not complex dialogue. You know, they don't use complex words and phrasing, but that's because they're teenagers. You know,
It took me a minute to understand what shutties meant.
yeah.
And even in the quote, I'm crazy sorry about your profound loss. Who speaks like that?
Crazy sorry about it.
Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely watch this again. Yeah, for sure. And recommend it to others.
Perfect.
I would like someone to ask me hello. Ask me the opening question again. Ask me the opening question again.
Oh.
Who would you recommend this movie to?
Christian, who would you...
Christian, who would you recommend this movie to?
I would recommend this movie to someone who wants to go into a film thinking that it's going to be just some run-of-the-mill summer teen flick release that you're going to watch and forget entirely, and then be pleasantly surprised by the amount of norms, cliches, and expectations that it subverts and inverts throughout the course of the film.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
That was beautiful.
Thank you, Roger Ebert.
4 stars.
I only have 2 thumbs, but I'm using one of Steven's. I give it 3 thumbs up.
Oh, perfect. That's all I wanted to know. I have to make sure the movies that I like, my friends also like.
Yeah.
I'm the Jennifer in this case. You all are the needy.
And yet you're the one who needs our approval.
Fair.
Before we go, just want to give a quick thank you to bestest friend of the show, Brian. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate your support of Your Movie, My Movie. Now, if any of you would like to support the show, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/yourmoviemymoviepodcast. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.
All right. And on that note, I think it's a wrap. Is it a wrap, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's a wrap.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys, for being on the show.